Yeah, I think so. I haven't spoken to Omegon. Wow, crap. How do you say his name? Omegon? Dang it, it's been so long. I remember that stream.
It's kind of like turning Cthulhu into Super Hitler Satan.
Rather amusingly, when I put out a video on Friday about Amberlynn Reid, I indicated that she can put 10 adverts on a video and be fine. I can put 1 on mine and I will be struck down and demonetized. Well, somehow I ended up with 3 ads on that video when I didn't add 3 ads to it, and the video was put under limited state upon release. Not sure what to say to that, really. Moving on. Now, the subject of today's video does come from something we have discussed before. Oddly enough, this certainly falls within the bracket of a comment I received that made me laugh so much that I put it on Twitter for everyone else to see about the subject of sex offenders. If you didn't know by now, I have no issue calling out a sex offender when a sex offender has been convicted. The subject, as earlier stated, is in line with all of this and concerns someone who identifies as a woman or goes by a female name, so possibly trans. The article is not clear enough on this, who got a slap on the wrist for doing something that is, quite frankly, prison-worthy. There are many excuses usually given, and we are certainly going to cover the excuses the Scotland Sheriff's Department, or whoever it is that did it, gave to the public. So, parents are outraged after a man who identifies as a woman assaults a 10-year-old daughter in a woman's bathroom and gets a slap on the wrist. In Scotland, an 18-year-old male who identifies as a woman was given a slap on the wrist by authorities earlier this month after assaulting a 10-year-old girl in the restroom. If they identify as female, let's say they are trans and be polite. A trans woman assaulted a 10-year-old girl in a restroom. This brings up the obvious debate about bathrooms. My opinion? I don't personally care what your gender is. By all means, use it. Understand though, guys are not going to appreciate girls next to them at a urinal. Guys also don't appreciate it when girls are in the bathroom next to them in cubicles, because we all, and this isn't exclusive to guys of course, there are women like it as well, who like personal space. So my opinion usually of not really caring doesn't really matter too much. And when it comes to people who are trans, I don't take issue with them using bathrooms for the sex or gender they identify with. I may have muddled that up a bit, but I think my point is still there. However, there are people who have taken advantage of this and abused it. And then there are other people, like Katie Dolatowski, the suspect in question, who then makes it very difficult to validate the argument of allowing trans people to use bathrooms for the gender or sex that they align with, as opposed to biological sex. Now, the crime in question isn't the first time Katie Dolatowski has actually been caught doing something that she should not have been doing. She had been caught in another supermarket, filming a 12-year-old girl on the toilet, this time grabbing the youngster by the face, shoving her into the cubicle and ordering her to remove her trousers after the young lady had been sledding, doing fancy stuff on snow, okay? The girl, though, was quite fortunate. While Dolatowski had made threats to kill her mother, the girl punched Dolatowski in the face, stomach and groin and ran to family who were just outside the toilets. I can't imagine the father was best impressed and may have wanted, some would argue, rightly so, to inflict considerable harm upon this person for attempting to harm his child. Now, instead of being sent to jail as many people would have thought Dolatowski would have been, Dolatowski was banned from having contact with children and given a community service electronic tag, with Sheriff James Williamson being quoted as saying, "I have come to the conclusion that the public will be better protected by the imposition of a stringent community payback order." And I know what many of you are thinking. What is a community payback order? It basically means the punishment for the crime is carried out in the community instead of in a prison. They've decided you are just about not severe enough to go to prison, which I'm sure many of you are now sat back thinking, nope, this person should be in a prison. They are a repeat offender who has made multiple attempts, one successful, to obtain child-based almost pornography. It is highly inappropriate, and they should be in a prison. And to those people, I think you have a very strong leg to stand on. With community payback orders, there is supervision, which is regular sessions with an offender manager to help you stop offending. So basically someone with a very big pointy stick to keep poking you saying, stop touching children, stop wanting to touch children, stop going near children, or this stick goes up your bottom. You also do unpaid work, which is the work in the community paying back for the harm you have caused, although how you quantify attempting to abuse children in the form of community payback is, interesting. There are other elements, but program drug rehabilitation, alcohol treatment, curfew, residence, activity exclusion, prohibited activity, mental health treatment, and attendance centre are nearly all irrelevant. Mental health is perhaps the most apt. The little girl's mother, who unsurprisingly is unidentified to protect the child, has said that she feels let down upon learning that Dolatowski will walk the streets again, with her being quoted as saying, "I don't have any confidence whatsoever that he will not go out and do something equally as bad or worse." The mother said that her daughter continues to suffer horrifying flashbacks and was hysterical after the attack. This is something that will remain with her for the rest of her life, and she's quite right. The mother also added that Dolatowski behaved as a sexual predator and specifically stalked the toilets to victimize a little girl. Not just the one girl though. This is a repeat offense. Dolatowski was stalking toilets on more than one occasion, specifically to attack children, to record children. That is behavior. That does not mean you belong on the streets to pay back the community for what you did. It's the kind of behavior that belongs in a prison cell for a fairly substantial amount of time. Now, if Scotland's prisons are full, might I recommend you make a new one? Perhaps use Holy Rood, as that's still used by your government. Not only did Dolatowski admit to sexually assaulting the 10-year-old girl, he also admitted to following another girl into a bathroom at Asda, as I earlier mentioned. However, the court has taken sympathy on Dolatowski because Dolatowski grew up in Britain's social care system since the age of 3, and, as is tradition with female sex offenders, even if this one is trans, suffers from mental health issues. I'm starting to see a pattern, and it's one I don't like. I can't tell if in many of the cases the mental health is a genuine issue, or whether the pattern is indicative of attempting to protect a class of people. Now, sure, these are all isolated instances, but most people will start to add those up and say, you know what, the women's appear to be getting a bit of a pass here. I know the article references Dolatowski as he, but this implies he is actually she, and she is a sex offender. The mother, much like myself, believes the excuse is petty, considering that hundreds of thousands of people suffer from mental health issues, and they themselves don't assault kids. I think that's a bit of a, there is a point there, but it's not one I would hold much stock in. As always, I like to treat the instance as individual, without knowing more about Dolatowski's mental health issues. I don't want to pigeonhole. I accept, though, that there is a trend when it comes to female sex offenders. According to LifeSite News, cases such as Dolatowski's are not an anomaly, with them being quoted as saying, "Plenty of people have already used claims of being transgender to get access to female bathrooms for the purpose of voyeurism and sometimes worse behaviour. Those examples are usually ignored entirely, and even mentioning them can get you labelled a bigot." Then, in this case, one would need to know if Dolatowski is trans or not. Has Dolatowski been diagnosed with gender dysphoria? Is that the mental illness you are trying to convey here? Now, I did do some digging. There are many articles that would support my belief that Katie Dolatowski is in fact trans. It has led to articles calling for greater protection for female-only spaces because of this, and there even being transcrimeuk.com with a profile for Katie Dolatowski. I will of course link all of this below for you. Now, because I want to build up to this, I am in the process of about 75% done on the video I intend to put out on Foodie Beauty. It is another total rip-off of Content Cop. Not rip-off Deputy, a full, near hour-long video. I thought I'd let you know that that is 75% done. So, I hope you all have a lovely Monday, and thank you all for listening.